how are we going to bring about those shifts? So I want to talk a little bit about the players. And since, Darren, you're right here, I'm going to start with the youth. I feel deeply that most of the people that are in this room who are not youth need to really get behind the youth. They are speaking truth to power. And they don't have power, except they have power only in their ability to galvanize and mobilize a movement, to wake those people up who are so deeply embedded in our system of money and oil and politics, that we need to break that link and move to a positive system. It's not tearing it down, it's bringing about shifts in it. And the youth, I think, Greta, who we all talk about, when she was a 15-year-old girl, she sat all by herself in the rain in that parliament in Sweden. And 2 years later, she's speaking in front of the United Nations and at Davos and at other places. So she touched a nerve. She spoke truth to power and people heard it. And power is actually responding. She can't make the changes, but she's got their attention. The Sunrise Movement is doing a terrific job, okay? Really is. I give you total, I'm so proud of what you're doing. And also the Extinction Rebellion in Europe is also doing an important job. So we've got to get behind those youth. I took the audacious, I put the subtitle of my book in our hands, A Handbook for Intergenerational Actions to Solve the Climate Crisis. And what I thought, and what I've now done the research to support, is that our generation has more financial resources than his generation has. We have more contacts that may be pertinent to some of the solutions that they're wrestling with. We have time. Okay? We have some experience that may be relevant. Maybe some of it's not, but may be relevant. And I think we should have a little bit of guilt. Not such a bad thing. I disagree that we trash the planet and all of those things. I think we've got to get way beyond that. And I think the generations have to figure out how we can support them in taking the lead and change the relationship. At the Climate One conference in San Francisco, I asked a question, and the leader of Sunrise and these other groups was all there. And I said, what do you want the relationship to be between the younger generation and the older generation in this intergenerational actions? And the answer essentially was, we don't want you behind us. We sure as hell don't want you in front of us. We want you beside us. And I thought that was intriguing terminology, okay? I find, if I can be, then I don't mean the eyes too much, but I went to Findhorn over in Scotland at a Climate and Consciousness, and I had a workshop in which we had the older generation, younger generation together and learned what they both thought about this issue. Then at the Presidio Graduate School in San Francisco, one evening, 25 graduate students, 20 members of Elder Climate Action is sponsoring tonight. And then did the same thing at the Redwood High School, asking the same 3 questions. What could we do together that we cannot do by ourselves? Is 1 + 1 = 2 or 5, if done properly? The second question is, what's the barrier for Darren and I working together? I'm using just you and myself as example, and I'm talking about all of us. And the third is, if those are some of the barriers, then how do we overcome the barriers and get on with it? And I wrote this up in a long blog, and it's just the research of what I learned in the youth and the older people's terminology, not my interpretation of their terminology. But one of the key things that I learned, particularly in Findhorn, in some of the statements, was that the younger people say, we don't have the spaces. Very interesting term to me. We don't have the spaces to connect with the older people. You had your churches, You had your community centers. But we don't connect very much with you. We don't even see you very much at Christmas. So it's not natural for us to connect with you and ask for your help. We don't know how to do that. Now, that was just some comments. But there's a real opportunity here of the intergenerational. That's what I'm really saying. And I would love to see you all in Nevada County and these two towns really focus in on this intergenerational question. That's my point.